Oh, hey. I didn't see you there. Just catching up, on Star Wars. Yeah, you know what? I've been thinking a lot about Star Wars lately. We got The Mandalorian, we got The Rise of Skywalker, got more Battlefront 2, we got more Jedi Fallen Order. Guys, it's just Star Wars heaven. That really got me talking about, with a lot of people, about a film that came out 2 years ago that, I feel like has just torn apart the Star Wars fandom. And I'm, of course, talking about The Last Jedi. So I said, Michael, came up to him and said, Michael, I'm gonna do a video on The Last Jedi. And he said, okay. So thanks, Michael. This video could get a little crazy. I don't know a lot about what I'm gonna say, a lot about what I'm gonna do. All I know is I have to talk about this movie because I love it so much. The more I think about it, the more I read about it, the more I watch other videos about it, the more I just, my love and appreciation of it grows. And my love of Star Wars grows with it. I've loved Star Wars since I was like 4 or 5. My dad, he took me to the movies to see the original trilogy in theaters when they released them in 1997. Couldn't even read. He read me the scroll. Phantom Menace came out, saw it like 6 times. What was I thinking? And I've seen everyone in theaters with my pops. Shout out Pops. And I remember when The Last Jedi came out 2 years ago that it was different. And it took me a while to kind of figure out what it was. But I loved it. I still really liked it. I was like, oh, it's different, but I don't know why, but I like it / love it. I want some more of it. It's supposed to be the Empire Strikes Back of this new trilogy. Force Awakens feels very New Hope, which was criticized at the time. Yeah, it plays it safe, and it's got a Death Star, and it's just New Hope, and Han Solo is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and blah, blah, blah. Again, all valid points, but it's still like captured that Star Wars feel. And then we find out that Rian Johnson is directing The Last Jedi. Rian Johnson, who directed Knives Out, fantastic movie. Please go see it. The Brothers Bloom, Looper, and Brick. So he was given free reign to kind of do whatever he wanted. He wrote and directed the movie. One of the few directors to actually do that on a Star Wars movie. And a lot of people did not like what he did, obviously. If you've been on the internet over the last 2 years, you know that people hate this movie for some reason, and they blame Rian Johnson, they blame Kathleen Kennedy, they blame this movie for ruining Star Wars. I think that's crazy. I think what makes this movie is about failure. We pick things up, we see Rey confront Luke, who has shut himself off to the Force, and he's like, he literally throws what people call the fandom, but I don't think it's that. I think it's our expectations. He throws a lightsaber over his shoulder, almost off a cliff, and was just like, whatever. And she's like, whoa, and she's having to deal with that. Then we got Poe, who is trying to do things one way. He's a hothead, and he thinks he's right. And for a lot of the movie, you think he's right too. And he's kind of put in check. And then you got Finn going on his own journey about, is he a good guy? Is he part of the Resistance? Is he part of just like, does he even want to be a part of this movement? Or does he just want to be with his friend? And the words good and bad get thrown around a lot with his journey, and he kind of learns that they're all kind of the same. And I get it. Coming hot off of like the original trilogy, the prequel trilogy, and Force Awakens, that's a lot to handle. That's a lot to deal with. We have a director come in and say, hey, you know what? All of what you know, that's all well and good, but let's really break it down. And that's what this movie's about. It's about failure. It's about perspective. It's about second chances. It's about growing and moving forward. Let's talk about one of the biggest complaints, and that's that Luke Skywalker is kind of a bum. He's not a Jedi anymore. He doesn't really practice the Force, but there's a reason for that. It's because he has failed. And he says that about the Jedi. He's like, the Jedi failed. And he's like, so what's the point? I failed too. I tried to train my nephew, And look, he just turned to the dark side. And he even talks about that with Rey. He's like, I'm not going to train you because you went straight to the dark side too. It's not that he failed. It's that he had this moment of weakness. And that, we in that whole storyline, we kind of see that we see Luke's perspective, we see Kylo's perspective of what happened when he kind of saw a little bit of darkness in Ben Solo, and they're both shot differently. And then we see what actually happened. And that moment is so powerful because it makes you say, oh, like, I get it. Like that Luke still wrestles with things, and it's sad that that's the moment that kind of turned things around, that kind of really set things off in this universe. For a Star Wars movie to like take your main good guy and say, this dude kind of sucks sometimes, and that he has his flaws, and that the dude was barely trained as a Jedi when you really think about it, and that he is still wrestling with those things. And guess what? It's okay to wrestle with those things, but you gotta be smart about it. You gotta remember that, like, there's a great comparison online where it's Luke in The Last Jedi looking down at Kylo Ren, and then it's Luke looking down at Vader from Return of the Jedi, and it's that same moment. That's when he realizes. One of my favorite parts about this movie is that it really addresses the Force. It says, listen, the Force is not for one group of people. It's what connects all of us. It connects all of us. That's what they've been telling us this whole time. Yet it's the Sith and the Jedi who get to wield that power. But that's not the case. It's not fair. The Force doesn't belong to anybody. It's so interesting to me to see this character that we all love, that we thought was like this golden child, and see him just kind of down, see him just be bummed and broken. And really, honestly, I think that's something I always saw in Return of the Jedi, is that Luke is a character who, by that film, has embraced his darkness. He understands that by the end of that movie, there's darkness in everybody. It's just what we choose to do with that darkness. We don't let it consume us. We embrace it a little bit. We don't let it take control, but we acknowledge that it's there. And I think that is kind of that same journey that Rey's on too. Like, I love the Luke stuff, and I love the Poe stuff, and I love that, like, it's really him being put in check. It's this, like, idea that we're taking this Han Solo-esque character, and we're putting him in his place, and he's supposed to grow as this character, and he does. He's humbled, and he gets a lot of people killed, doesn't learn. And when he sees that one person sacrificed, that's when it kind of clicks with him. He's like, when he sees Hodo just like tear through some starships, which they're like, I'm like, no, it's cool. I don't know, that's just really interesting to me, that you have this cool, like, pilot who's just like, look at me, I'm super dope. And you're like, no, you're not. You get people killed, and you don't think. That's not a leader. That's just, I don't know. That's not that's like a boss almost. Like, he's just doing what he needs to do, and he doesn't care what happens. Instead of just taking the time and thinking about what's best. He thinks he knows what's best, but really, like, he hasn't seen it from every perspective. Perspective, guys. That's the word of the day. I know we have to talk about Canto Bight. Guys, I didn't say it was a perfect movie. Maybe I did. Did I say it's a perfect movie? Yes. It is the worst part of the movie. It's a CGI fest. It's crazy. It's like a little goofy. But then, so just to get this out of the way, it is a movie still for children. The Avengers Endgame still had like fart and burp jokes, with Thor, and like gross out humor. Yeah, that's the same thing. Like, it's for the kids. It's supposed to be, fun. It's supposed to feel like an adventure. And yeah, it's not super well executed, but yes, that is my take on Canto Bight. As for the pointlessness of Canto Bight, is anything really pointless if we're learning a lesson? I think not. Rose and Finn, who, shout out to Rose, love that character. I think she's a great addition. So her and Finn, they go search for this code breaker, but they get arrested in the process, and they run into this character named DJ, who's played by Benicio del Toro. DJ kind of embodies this, their kind of lesson, their argument of what is good, what is bad. Also, perspective. But in the process, he kind of goes through, Finn's like, yo man, who cares if we stole from these people? They work for bad people. They made their money from bad people. And he's like, oh yeah, I mean, yeah, they built ships for the Empire, or the First Order, but also looks like they built some resistance ships too. And I love that. I love us like blurring the line of what is good, what is evil. Isn't it all the same if you're doing whatever it takes? Just like Poe, like if you like, is it really a victory? Is it really for good if you are getting people hurt, if you're doing it for selfish reasons, if you're doing it because you've been told that it's that way? It all still connects. A lot of another huge complaint is that all the characters are separated. Guys, have you freaking seen Empire? Like, those characters, all three of them are together for maybe 10 minutes in the beginning for a battle, and then like 5 minutes at the end. Even though they're separated, they're still all kind of learning about the same thing. I mean, up front they tell us, listen, this is not your average Star Wars movie. This is a movie that's going to make you think. It's going to challenge your love of Star Wars. It's going to challenge your love of these characters. I think at the end of this movie, I don't enjoy, and I enjoy them, but it's like, I'm rooting for the Resistance to come back. I'm not rooting for Rey. I'm not rooting for, Finn or Poe. Like, I'm rooting for, the good guys, but they are broken people, and I'm hoping in the next movie they've been put back together and they're kind of learning from those experiences. They're all like put in check a little bit. Rey, like Luke tells Rey, like, well, who cares? Like, what does it matter? And they're telling Poe, like, Poe, you can't just, the way you think things should be aren't that way. And hey, Finn, guess what? Like, yeah, you're fighting for the good guys, but they can be just as bad. And then in this kind of moment, in this few minutes, we learn one, that Rey's parents are nobodies. They sold her for drinking money, which is so, thank you. Like, everyone is upset that we don't know who Rey's parents are, but I think it's better that they're nobodies. Like it just shows that this can be anybody. I need her to be me. I need her to be a person. I need her to just say, you know what? There was this kind of nobody who, yeah, she has the Force. Because guess what? Force isn't just for good and evil. All of a sudden, you kind of see Kylo moving the lightsaber, and he kills Snoke again. Not the way I thought it was gonna go, and I love it. I love that, like, we're set up, like, we have Snoke set up in the first movie. We see him a lot in the second movie, and then he is just killed by Kylo Ren. That is awesome to me. At that moment, it becomes Kylo and Rey, who have connected over this movie, kind of learned about each other, and then Kylo's like, listen, we don't need all of this. No good, no bad. Let's just be us. And she's like, no, which I get. You have to have some kind of story. And then Kylo is obviously upset. This is Vader killing the Emperor, but also being like, yeah, but I'm not a good guy either. And then Luke shows up, and he has this battle with Kylo Ren, who is crazy now. And it turns out he's not really there. He's a Force ghost. Not a Force. He's like a Force projection. He becomes a Force ghost, I bet. Every time I watch this in theaters, every time I watch it now, my heart still pounds. Like, I know what's about to happen, but it's so good because it has you looking over here, and you should be looking like right here. He still doesn't have to be, like, he doesn't have to be the hero Luke Skywalker. He's the legend Luke Skywalker. He dies, and we're left with a broken Resistance. There's like maybe 30 people left. To end it like that, after the whole movie we just watched, like, that is insane. We start out breaking these characters, and guess what? We leave them like a little fixed, but also still pretty broken. And we get this glimmer of hope that there are people out there who are other Force-sensitive people. It's like the symbol of, what they've been pushing this whole time, that, things can be rebuilt. It only takes one spark to light the fire that burns down the First Order. And I understand that, like, you didn't get what you wanted, but that's okay. We are supposed to grow. Like, Han Solo is not the same character he is in A New Hope. Even in Empire, he's different. Even in Return of the Jedi, he's different from that guy, too. It's like, we're growing. Luke is growing as a person. Leia grows as a character. Like, we're supposed to grow. We're supposed to change. The prequels you knew how they were going to end. You knew where we were ending up, and you saw those characters change, but you knew it was coming, and that's not fun. I just hope that the Rise of Skywalker doesn't kind of tear a lot of that down. I hope it's not a course correction. I'm hoping it's more of a build onto that, while also making people, I guess, a little happier than they were after the Last Jedi. But I just don't want I don't want to know who Rey's parents are. I don't want to know what happened to Snoke. I'm like barely on board with the Emperor stuff, so please, just like, please, and guys, give Rian Johnson a break. The dude is known for taking a genre and flipping it on its head. And you fools thought like it wasn't gonna, like Star Wars wasn't gonna be like that? No, get out of here. So just see you guys later, and don't hate on The Last Jedi so much, because it really is. It's a cool movie, and it's quickly become one of my favorite Star Wars movies. I think probably after Empire. You don't want my list. It's later.